Today we're talking about Pixel 4 leaks as well as Samsung's foldable phone having issues with the display. Let's get into it.
So for the Pixel 4, we are expecting this device to be aimed as a direct competitor to Samsung's recently released S10 lineup.
We expect 2 to 3 models of it, both being the Pixel 4, Pixel 4 XL, and a Pixel 4 Lite version to sort of compete with Apple and Samsung. And we're expecting a couple of upgrades, one being a bezel-free display, 2, an in-fingerprint reader, and thirdly, 2 cameras on the back possibly.
These are just some of the patents as well as concept images that have arose on the internet over the last little bit. The patent that we have actually seen indicate a back fingerprint reader.
Now, we expect the price to be anywhere between $750 for the base model and then $1,000 for the maxed out Pixel 4 variant.
From a lot of the concepts that we have seen, to take a lot of inspiration from the S10 lineup. Specifically speaking, the Infinity O, or the front-facing camera with a cutout screen. This would basically alleviate the notch that a lot of people were ripping on the Google Pixel for having. It's one of the biggest notches that we have ever seen. It's massive. And so this would be a way that Google could get away from the notch.
Now, this kind of goes alongside of the rumors that Samsung will actually be providing the Pixel 4 with its display. Previous years, Pixel 3 and Pixel 2 have been supported by LG's displays, which a lot of people have had issues with.
Samsung's pretty much the best in the game for displays at this point right now.
Yes, especially AMOLED displays.
They're making their screens for Apple right now as well, and the Apple screen is amazing. So if Google takes the screen that Samsung makes and puts it in their Pixel phone, it will just make it that much better because the software in the Pixel is really good, but the hardware is where the phone actually struggled.
Yes, that's what a lot of people had issues with the Pixel 3 version. Now, in the concept images, we do see a dual camera setup on the back of it. It will feature the same 12.3 megapixel rear camera with an f1.7 aperture and a secondary sensor with a 16 megapixel ultra wide lens on it.
The Pixel 3 has pretty much the best camera in the game right now for phone devices.
Yeah.
And they will likely try to enhance it even more to have one leg up on the rest of the flagship models. And if they make it a dual lens on the back, that is one way that they could really step up their game. We are expecting, since Google actually makes Android software, that the Pixel 4 will have the Android 10 Q software. As well, we're expecting that the Pixel 4 will have an upgrade in storage. The Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL had 128 gigabytes of storage. We're hoping that they'll increase it to 256 gigabytes, which is kind of a common trend that we've seen for a lot of flagship phones. They're maxing out their storage. We've even seen some devices with a terabyte of storage. Maybe Google could go that direction too?
Possibly. I mean, they do want you to use their cloud-based services, which is one thing they're well known for.
Additionally, we're expecting there to be a boom sound speaker system. This is shown on their patent. There's a speaker on the top and bottom, as well as on the concept images that we saw. However, this concept image only shows a speaker on the bottom grille.
One thing that people had an issue with the Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL were the battery sizes. We expect the Pixel 4 to start at 3,100 milliamp hours and the XL to start from 3,800 milliamp hours. Secondly, we do have IP68 waterproofing and dust proofing, which is a nice touch. That is up to 1 meter in depth for 30 minutes, which is pretty much standard now. Then on top of that, we have the continuation of the USB Type-C.
Which is becoming pretty common now. Everybody but the iPhone has been going the USB-C route.
This is a trend that Apple started with their brand new MacBook, which had only 2 USB Type-C ports on it.
Next up, we're talking about the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Some of the issues that are associated with it. So if you remember when they first announced their phone a few months ago or last month, nobody was actually able to touch the phone. This was both when they unveiled it as well as at the Mobile World Conference. It was in like a glass enclosure. So nobody, no press, nobody has been able to get their hands on it. But now, recently, some people, some images and some videos have been posted on the internet of people getting a hold of these pre-production models. And they have some issues with it.
So the first video that we saw was actually posted from somewhere in Vietnam showing a pre-production model, and there's an issue with the screen. This person who was using the display had video of it, and it clearly showed a crease down the middle of the fold.
Like a very noticeable crease.
Yes, even Forbes said it was very distracting. We will have to say that the production model that they were using was pre-production, and it was kind of weird.
So we're hoping that Samsung, when they actually unveil their phone on April 26th or release it, they will have fixed this issue. Another thing to note is on all of the images and videos that we have seen so far from Samsung, there has been no evidence of a crease. We've seen this when they unveiled their phone, some of the commercials, as well as their new durability test video that they released just a few days ago. Under poor lighting, their was very little evidence of a crease.
Nathan, my question is, do you think that was faked? Do you think someone intentionally put a crease there just to make it seem like there was a crease?
You know, I would really hope not. And I think people that,
Espionage.
but at the same time, people that are actually stealing these devices from the factory, they're taking a device that's not there, so they could tamper with it. Maybe they took a defective product too. Not really sure. I'd hope not. How about you?
I mean, it's possible. We've seen crazier things done by big corporations before. Now, back to the Samsung bend test video. It showed the bend at a very awkward angle compared to light, which would show a crease, but we didn't see a crease.
That gets us to our next video. A leaker who apparently or allegedly got a pre-production model talked to Sam Mobile about this, and they had 3 issues. The first one was this crease. He said, this leaker, I'm not sure if it was a guy or girl, this leaker said that anything under a 70% brightness, the crease was actually evident. So if you were 70% and above, you wouldn't notice a crease.
Okay.
But below that, you would. He even went as far to mention that if you ran your fingers across where the crease is, you could feel that crease.
Next up, he did say that the fold did not bend 100%. So when you do fold the Samsung phone, he said there's a bit of a opening at the hinge, so it folded extra amount.
He gave the example of a binder. You know how it kind of folds into like a wedge shape where you have one side higher than the other? And
Like this. Look
Exactly.
at that. So it doesn't fold completely flat. It has a bit of a opening.
so when it's in its folded state, laying flat on a table, the top part of the fold will not be parallel with the table it's sitting on.
Okay.
It's going to be slightly at an angle, probably not a very noticeable angle, but still an angle. So like if you're typing on it or browsing through Instagram or something,
That small 4-inch display.
you probably won't notice the angle, but it's going to be there.
The last thing he pointed out was that there was a delay when switching between the 2 screens. So he was using Chrome on the 4-inch screen, and then when he opened it to the folded screen, there was a second delay or a couple seconds delay in switching.
So we don't have any video or photo evidence of this because he was just talking with Sam Mobile and they didn't release the footage. But how it was described was if you're looking at it on the folded screen, if you unfold it, it will show a smaller display and then it'll take a few seconds to re-render into the larger display.
Now, we do have to point out these are pre-production models and the software isn't actually there yet, which is why it's being released in April 26th. What do you think about these leaks, Nathan? Can you trust this guy?
We do know that Samsung is experiencing issues with the foldable phone. Obviously, I mean this is a revolutionary technology.
Yes.
So there will be issues, and they're the first ones to do it. So there will be issues. What are your thoughts?
I think there are issues. I don't think they're quite this bad.
So Samsung originally said when they first unveiled their phone that it could fold 200,000 times.
Yes.
And if you do the math, if you fold it about 100 times a day, it'll give you about 5 years of use.
Okay.
However, when speaking with Bloomberg, they announced that they had issues with this and that after 20,000 folds, a crease was evident.
Do you think Samsung would admit that?
I don't think that they would lie if somebody would ask them about that.
Maybe they just say, next question?
I mean, this is from Bloomberg, so Bloomberg's a pretty reputable source.
It's hard to trust a leaker, especially when there's no footage of it. It's a bit skeptical. There could be tampering with pre-production models.
Coincidentally or not, after these leaked images and videos came across the internet, Samsung actually released a video showing how they durability test their Samsung devices.
Right, the video we talked about earlier.
Yes. And
There's
it
no
shows
crease.
that they are folding it tons and tons of times.
Yeah, there was a couple of them on the same bed, all being folded. So it's going to be interesting to see how those turn out. But are you still excited for this phone?
I'm excited. I'm not excited for the price.
I still want to pick it up.
$2,000.
American.
$2,000. Sorry,
That's a laptop.
1980, which is basically the same thing.
Last up, we have Apple apologizing over a couple of customers still having issues with the 3rd generation Butterfly keyboard. Now, the Butterfly keyboard was announced alongside of the MacBook originally back in 2016, and this was to fit in a smaller form factor. Now, this is the 3rd generation, and it was supposed to fix sticking and dust issues getting into the keyboard.
But they're still experiencing that issue with sticking.
Some people are still experiencing issues.
Are you experiencing this? You have that keyboard,
So
don't you?
I've had a 2nd generation Butterfly
Okay.
keyboard. I've had no issues with it ever. I feel like people who get crumbs in their keyboard are just typing away with dirty ass fingers. I mean, what are you gonna do? Put crumbs on your keyboard?
Maybe dust. Dust. You can't really stop dust, right?
I mean, we're in a pretty dusty space. I've never had an issue.
So in Apple's statement, the Wall Street Journal reported that they said, we are aware of the they really emphasize the small number of users having issues with their 3rd generation Butterfly keyboard, and for that, we are sorry. That's basically all they said. They went on to say a vast majority of MacBook customers are not having this issue and actually have a positive experience with this keyboard. So they're not really giving a resolution. I think they also said that if you have an experience, please contact customer service.
I think they're also saying what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna use your keyboard, clean your hands. Like, who's gonna use any keyboard you get a lot of dust in will malfunction?
Do you know the dirtiest device is actually your phone?
Yeah, I heard that.
So I'm sure the keyboard is very dirty as well.
Before the phone, it used to be your keyboard.
There you go.
Now, other people are complaining that Apple is prioritizing its thinness of devices over its actual functionality. But to that, I'd say, if they came out with a thicker laptop, people would be like, you're not innovating.
And that's why they came. I think you said this before, but that's why they came out with the thinner keyboard,
Yes.
is to make the
device
smaller, right?
Yeah. Well, those were all the news updates we had for you guys today. If you want us to look at anything, let us know in the comments below.
And subscribe if you're new.